It's been more than a decade since the Equality Act introduced impact assessments to try and eliminate discrimination, promote equality of opportunities and foster good relations across a range of protected characteristics. So how far have we come, and are they working?
The EQIA for the FGM National Action Plan. I remember sitting in a room with, it must have been 30 South Asian women, and it was a space to give people a voice. That space had never been there before.
The race equality team supported a minority ethnic leadership programme. As we were conducting the EQIA, we had realised that quite a lot of minority ethnic people are carers or who are disabled, and the way that we were going to pay them essentially may have an impact in terms of their benefits being reduced. So we worked to identify how we can alleviate those kind of issues.
So for the EQIA that I did in relation to border controls, what we sort of really found during the process was the importance of accessible communication. And for example, we translated the guidance into easy read, and obviously COVID affected everyone. It was sort of a very real issue, so we were able to sort of make things more comfortable and easier for people who needed it.
For me, the EQIA shaped Scotland's first violence against women and girls strategy, which was a huge development. It was a statement from the government that we wouldn't tolerate this. It gave us this mandate to take forward a huge amount of action. For example, there was increased education in schools about sexual violence. There was new legislation brought in terms of criminalising domestic abuse. There was Caledonian programmes to support men to change their behaviour, and they are working.
What kind of feedback have you had from stakeholders or actual people with lived experience on the EQIAs that you've done?
The £20 million housing fund for the Gypsy Traveller community. Because we've done the EQIAs, what we got from that process was that the community wanted to be involved in the site design guide.
Engagement with the traveller community, using different methods, for example using a Facebook group, it enabled us to access that wider community, to understand their needs in a way which is, sometimes assumptions are made about the traveller community which are not based in any kind of fact.
And it's helped them engage with us on other matters, not just housing, but education, health.
A lot of people feel that the Scottish Government doesn't care, or that they may listen but they won't act on it. And I think that reassurance and that building of trust with communities is so important, because people are going to actually say, oh, they've listened to us before and what they did was really good, so we can trust them to do that again.
We now have things like a domestic abuse protection order, which means that instead of the women and children leaving the house, it's the man who's asked to leave. Again, all these things should really promote and protect the needs of women and children who experience violence. And the feedback we have had from stakeholders and from women is that these things have been hugely impactful in their lives.
So seeing the result then of the work that you've done in an EQIA and the impact that it's had on both individuals and groups of people, what does that mean to you personally?
To hear that people are being positively impacted by those changes is really important, and it kind of makes it all worthwhile.
As somebody who's from a minority background myself, I've seen the impact it can have to be stigmatised just because you're from a Muslim community or from a minority ethnic community. So having that sort of positive feedback that we're doing things to prevent that is really, really important to me. It means a lot to me.
When we as researchers go out and speak directly to communities, particularly disadvantaged communities or people with protected characteristics, it's amazing to hear people talk about how they feel listened to. It makes them feel really empowered.
Anna, what about you? Have you had that good feeling yet?
Got high hopes for the work that we're doing in mental health. Really hopeful that we can make some real change to people on the ground. That is part of the reason I got into this role and this job. I wouldn't have it any other way.
So the bottom line is, if you treat your EQIA simply as a tick box exercise, it will be meaningless. But if you consider all the potential impacts of your policy, mitigate the negatives and promote the positives, you can make Scotland a fairer place.